Stablecoins are good for payments also, but we see people using Litecoin more because Litecoin is a better store of value, right? Stablecoins are based off of, let's say, US dollar. And as we know, fiat currency is not the best store of value as more and more fiat's been printed over the past few years even. So people like to store their money in crypto, in Bitcoin, in Litecoin. Similar to how people store money in gold and silver, being like better store of value than fiat currencies.
Crypto treasuries have been in the spotlight lately. Now, MEI Pharma, a publicly traded pharmaceutical company, has closed a $100 million private placement to build a Litecoin treasury. GSR and Litecoin founder Charlie Lee led the placement, and Lee and a GSR appointee will be joining the MEI Pharma board. Joining me now is Litecoin creator Charlie Lee and GSR Chief Strategy Officer Josh Riezman. Hey, guys.
Hey there.
Hey.
Great to have you here. Like I said, crypto treasury firms are all the rage lately. Josh, I want to start with you. GSR led the private placement. Talk to me about what this means for GSR and how you're looking at Litecoin.
This was a right time for MEI to adopt this strategy, and we were super happy that they chose to pursue a strategy around Litecoin. If you kind of zoom out, and Charlie speak to this way better than I can, but Litecoin is one of the most fair, widely distributed, used crypto assets in the space, and it's being one of the original OG coins. It makes sense to work with GSR, one of the original OG market makers in the space, to help bring the strategy into place.
Charlie, I want to hop on over to you. Talk to me about bringing a Litecoin treasury company to life. Talk to me about what this means for the Litecoin story as we move forward.
Well, Litecoin's been around for almost 14 years now, since 2011 was when it was created. And recently, I mean, there's been this whole institutional push, right? There's a ETF that has been applied for and hasn't been approved yet. And now that we have this Litecoin treasury play in place, I think it's a good place for institutional kind of investments to get into this kind of novel asset class, being Litecoin. It's very similar to Bitcoin. It's fairly launched. It's a very good money, and I think it's kind of very exciting to get into this.
Charlie, when you're talking to institutions and you're talking about Litecoin versus Bitcoin, how are you explaining the benefits?
The key thing is, for when it's very similar, the benefits are that Litecoin has cheaper fees and it's has faster transactions. So it's actually a better form of money in terms of people using it to pay for things. We've seen Litecoin adoption really hit. It's been very good this year with BitPay, one of the largest crypto payment processors. Litecoin is being used even more often than Bitcoin for payments, and that's because of the low fees and the fast transactions. And it kind of just works. The network has been up with zero issues for almost 14 years straight.
And I want to just stick on that point for a second. If we're talking about payments and we're talking to an institutional audience, I just asked you about Litecoin versus Bitcoin. How would you explain, in this case, then, Litecoin versus stablecoins if we're talking about quick transactions and payments?
I mean, stablecoins are good for payments also, but we see people using Litecoin more because Litecoin is a better store of value, right? Stablecoins are based off of, let's say, US dollar. And as we know, fiat currency is not the best store of value as more and more fiat's been printed over the past few years even. So people like to store their money in crypto, in Bitcoin, in Litecoin, similar to how people store money in gold and silver, being better store of value than fiat currencies. So stablecoins have their uses, but I think a store of value coin like Bitcoin and Litecoin is preferable.
Midnight is a privacy-enhancing blockchain, introducing vital, programmable privacy and selective disclosure capabilities. It means dApps can allow users to control what information is revealed without putting sensitive data on-chain, allowing you to break free from the limitation of choosing between utility or privacy. We deserve more when it comes to privacy. Experience the next generation of blockchain that is private and inclusive by design. Break free with Midnight. Visit midnight.network/breakfree.
Josh, I'm going to come back to you now. Talk to me a little bit about that institutional interest in Litecoin. Of course, institutions are becoming very interested in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now we're seeing treasuries with, I believe, BNB, Sol, now Litecoin. What are some of the questions institutions are asking when it comes to cryptos outside of Bitcoin and ETH?
Yeah, and I think when public companies look to adopt the digital asset treasury strategy, they're looking to first thing deliver the best value to their shareholders. And in the current market, there's a lot of players that have pursued the Bitcoin strategy, and you're starting to see increasingly diversification in the intents of the companies. Saying, where can I look to deliver value? Where is their interest? And so for these assets that are extremely popular, especially with retail, but just to generate a lot of volume, but do not have a vehicle, an ETF or something that's widely traded, available in the security accounts of most Americans, I think companies are seeing an opportunity to pursue it. And Litecoin was an obvious choice. It's a top 20 coin, $600 million a day of global volume, billions of dollars of value, as Charlie mentioned, kind of many year track record. And so from an institutional perspective, that's something trusted, fair, highly used, and highly valued. It just seemed obvious that it needed a vehicle to express itself. And so now you get two things. One, you get access for institutional investors, and that's sort of what GSR is doing here, is bringing kind of liquidity to a new market for Litecoin. But also the company has a mechanism to really be accretive to shareholders. And that what we see, and as exemplified by MicroStrategy and now many others, is that this is an outstanding mechanism to really return value. And you're able to kind of monetize the future value that people associate with the cost of capital of these companies, plus their view on the underlying crypto assets. And that spread is what's generating a premium in the market.
I've heard some market commentators call crypto treasury companies a fad. Obviously, this play is telling us that that is not either of your positions on this call. Josh, how would you respond to some folks who are saying the crypto treasury companies are a fad? And maybe tell me a little bit about the future that these companies are working towards.
Sure. So it's definitely been an incredibly hot market. There's no doubt about it. And in any hot market, there's a risk of overheating. And so, we're constantly on the lookout for that. But I think what our underlying view is that most tokens that reach escape velocity will look to have a vehicle, and there'll be public companies that are going to be interested in adopting these successful networks as treasury assets. And so we see kind of a longer term future. While it's totally possible that premium may vacillate along with the market, right? You might see that premium reduce. But ultimately, for companies that have a disciplined long-term strategy, and you're able to take advantage of what the capital markets is offering as far as lower cost of capital and potentially even really low cost of debt for well-run companies, we think there's a long-term viability for these strategies. That being said, companies need to be wary of over-leverage. And in the competition amongst treasury companies, you may see some take on leverage that are kind of unwarranted. But we think with the right company, the right management, and the right asset, there's no reason these can't be extremely long-term successes. And between the MEI Pharma team and Charlie and the Litecoin Foundation, we think this is kind of one of the obvious perfect setups for long-term success.
Charlie, I mentioned in my intro that you'll be joining the MEI Pharma board. Just talk to me a little bit about the impact you hope to make on that board, and what that means, I guess, for the integration of Litecoin Foundation into MEI Pharma and their operations.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm very excited about is just the kind of the amount of capital that is put into this company right from the start, right? We have $100 million put into it. And it could be a very synergetic effort with the Litecoin Foundation, right? So being both the foundation and MEIP would want Litecoin to succeed and for the price to go up. So the foundation has been doing a lot for adoption and awareness of Litecoin, and MEIP can really help with that. So whether it's sponsoring like the Litecoin Summit, helping us hold the Litecoin Summit every year, or integration with other products and bringing other Litecoin products to market. There's a lot of things that can be done with capital to help Litecoin succeed, and that's kind of a win-win for everyone involved.
And Josh, same question for you, but from a GSR perspective, I know that GSR representative is going to be joining the board. I don't know who that is or if you've revealed that information yet, but what does that mean from a GSR perspective?
Look, I think for GSR's long-term mission here is to bring liquidity into new markets. And so we're looking for companies and our clients that are interested in doing that, and having identified, MEI Pharma and working with Charlie, this is something we're excited to be kind of involved with long-term. And so us joining the board is, I think, bringing our unique blend of capabilities to help guide the company in their digital asset treasury. And so, one of the things we specifically are looking at is as these companies mature, they're going to be looking for increasing yield opportunities to return to shareholders. And between GSR's kind of DeFi and CeFi trading capabilities, we think we're primed to help kind of guide that strategy. And we're engaged as a long-term asset manager by MEI Pharma, and we look forward to helping to deliver them on their mission to growing the canonical and largest Litecoin treasury vehicle in the space.
All right, Charlie, I want to hand it over to you now as we wrap this up. What can we expect from the Litecoin ecosystem? What's next on your roadmap?
Sure. Excuse me. So kind of the main focus for me with respect to Litecoin is to make Litecoin kind of one of the best form of money that we've seen, right? So one thing that was missing from even Bitcoin is privacy and fungibility. And that's something we've worked on by introducing a layer on top of Litecoin called MWeb, which gives people the ability to send money where the amount is not kind of public. So they can, because right now, like with Bitcoin, for example, when you send money, everyone can see on a public ledger how much you sent, and they can actually figure out how much money is in your kind of bank account if they just look back at all your transactions. So I think that's something that's not very good for money, right? When you spend money, you don't want the recipient to be able to figure out how much you have in your bank account. So some form of privacy is crucial for good sound money. So that's something we've added to Litecoin. And moving forward, I think we just want to keep trying to add things and make Litecoin kind of easy to use and also a good form of money. So moving forward, that's what we're doing. We've also recently introduced a new mobile wallet for Litecoin called Nexus that has MWeb built in. Things like that, just making it easy for people to use Litecoin is very important.
Charlie, Josh, thanks so much for joining me. We will continue to follow the journey here. And just before I let you go, I got to ask you, any other Litecoin treasury companies in the works, or anyone reaching out to figure out how to do it themselves?
I think people are definitely reaching out to partner with us. We're excited about making this one the canonical version in the US at least.
Yeah, I mean, after this announcement, I've been kind of contacted by probably like close to a dozen interested individuals in doing like Litecoin treasury companies. A lot of it actually outside of the US, right? In Asia and Europe. And I think there's definitely room for a lot more of these plays in other countries. In the US, I think this will be the largest, and like Josh said, the canonical Litecoin treasury play. It's very exciting. I mean, it's quite a bit of money, the $100 million that's invested in Litecoin. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot more to come, but I'm very excited to see how this plays out.
Guys, thanks so much for joining.
Awesome, Jen. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jen.